I'm here with Miles Kitts, Dr. Miles Kitts, and Miles is a Toastmaster. Why did you decide to join Toastmasters?
I was looking for something which would get me out of my social isolation, which I had at university during my studies, but I wanted to get into something which would not only just be like any social club, but would be something that could help me with my future career as well. Well, when I came to the first Toastmasters meeting, one of the things that I really enjoyed about it was that everything was timed. So that meant that there was an efficiency to everything that was going on. That really attracted me to Toastmasters at my first experience, and then being able to get up and speak, I knew was going to be able to help my future career development. And I was able to do it with other people as well. So for me, it ticked all the boxes.
Yeah. So timing obviously is a really big thing when you're trying to get your point across, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. If you go for too long, the message you're trying to get across is just lost.
Tell me a little bit about the elements of Toastmasters that helped you with manage that timing.
Well, in any given Toastmasters meetings, there seems to be three main components that are common to all Toastmasters meetings. The first is prepared speeches, which people prepare beforehand and then come into the meeting and present. The second is table topics, which is impromptu speaking, where you're given some sort of stimuli and then you have to speak on it on the spot. And then the third is evaluation. So that's where you evaluate the other two components and then other things that occur in the meeting. Now, all of this is timed. So as a result, because you have that conditioning component on everything that you say, you have to be efficient and you have to decide in advance what are you going to say so that it conveys the message that you want, but it falls within the time period allotted to you for that segment. And that's really the great thing about timing, because it forces you to be efficient, get to the point, be succinct, and then once you've achieved those objectives, you wrap up and you stop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From memory, when you first started Toastmasters, you were studying for your PhD, weren't you?
That's right. Yeah, I was in the later stages of my PhD, and doing university study, especially once you get to those higher levels, you become much more socially isolated because it's more about your own individual work. So joining Toastmasters was a good way to force myself to get out of that social isolation that I found myself in, to be able to relate to other people.
You needed to help other students as part of your PhD as well. Were you lecturing, or what was happening for you with that?
I wasn't lecturing, but I was tutoring, and since getting my PhD, I've continued to tutor. And tutoring, it's flexible sort of work in terms of the number of students you're dealing with and the degree of how structured it is. So as a result, in some situations, you're almost like a junior lecturer.
Okay.
It's almost as if like the tutorial is you're giving like a supplementary lecture to the main lecture, and then you're interacting with students based on what you present. And then other times it's more one-on-one, but even in a one-on-one situation, you still need to know what you're going to say to the student, how you're going to say it, and not drag on too long. Because if you do that, then people lose focus, lose attention.
So how did you find that the elements of Toastmasters helped you in that environment?
Well, I found it very much doing what I was doing in Toastmasters, just a different format, different venue, different people. The skills that I had honed and practiced in Toastmasters were readily transferable, because I had to, again, identify what I wanted to say it in a clear way, and do it in a succinct way, so that then people could then go and do whatever task needed to be done in the tutorial.
So in the whole educational strand of Toastmasters, there's education around formulating speeches. There's also a leadership strand in there as
That's
well.
right,
So
yeah.
you're coming to the end of that whole process now, aren't you?
Yes.
You're about to deliver your final speech that gets you the Distinguished Toastmaster Award, which is the highest award you can achieve in Toastmasters.
That's right, yeah.
So that's been a goal of yours.
Yeah.
So the modules you've been doing in Toastmasters, have they helped you apply the learnings in that to situations in your job, your career, your study?
Yes, yeah, they have. In both the leadership sides, I've run conferences and supported conferences. Those have given me abilities to, first of all, work with other people to achieve common goals. And oftentimes in workplaces, you can be asked to put on some sort of function in which people will come together and interact with each other, which, is a conference, or if they call it something else, it's still pretty much the same
It's an
thing.
event of
It's
some
still an
sort.
event
Yeah.
of some type. That's right. So it gave me that. It gave me that experience with event planning and event management, which has been helpful. And then on the communication side of things, I've had to give different speeches. And the nice thing about the speeches is that when you go into the more advanced level speeches, they become quite diversified
Yeah.
in the types of things that you can do. Oftentimes, when people think of a speech, they think of one person standing at a podium speaking to the audience. You can do speeches like that, but there's also other things that you can do. Some are more interactive with their partner. Others are interactive with a group of people. One of the last series of speeches that I gave, they were speech projects, but they were actually group facilitation. So I had to facilitate a group discussion on different topics, which I chose beforehand. And that was revealing to me in that actually facilitating a group discussion is really hard to do. And I was able to identify some strengths, but also weaknesses were exposed. So I was able to then know, okay, I need to go and work on these aspects in future. By using Toastmasters as a place to experiment and feel safe to fail and learn from failing, or learn without risk.
That's right. You've
Yeah.
got a very supportive environment, haven't
That's
you?
right. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and that's the other thing about Toastmasters, because everyone else in the room is trying to improve as themselves, and you as well. You can get feedback so you know how to improve. So even when you feel like you've bottomed out in some sort of task, people will be there to tell you how to improve things so next time you can do
Yeah.
better. And that's what the evaluation is. But even outside the evaluation, before and after a meeting and during breaks, people will come up to you and tell you
Yeah.
how you might improve in future.
And the whole evaluation process as well is that people, I often think, believe they need to be experts to give you feedback,
That's right.
but they don't need to be.
That's true. That's true. Because an evaluation is only meant to be that one person's view of what they just experienced or observed. And you're right, you don't have to be an expert. It's meant to be, how do you experience what you just observed? What did you like? What do you think could be done better? And then communicating that to someone else. Giving feedback in such a way that is analytical but also supportive, so that others can learn and the person who just performed a role can learn. That in and of itself is a skill. Toastmasters is a good way to learn to give feedback in a good way, which doesn't generate conflict, learning how to give that constructive feedback, which is a benefit to everyone involved
And in
in
a
the process.
caring way as
Yeah,
well.
that's right, in a caring way.
Yeah, it's at a very exciting time in your life at the moment.
Yeah.
And you've actually been able to land your dream job through
Yes, yeah.
some of the skills you've learnt in Toastmasters. So what were those transferable skills that you used in the whole interview process and the selection process in getting your dream job?
Well, and this is where Toastmasters really started to come in, was they gave me a series of questions and I had to give my response in 2 minutes. That is a table topic right there. So that is impromptu speaking. I would do that in Toastmasters meetings, doing table topics. I've been doing that for years. And then the next step was phone interview. So it was myself and 6 or 7 other people on the other end. And it turned out to be very much like table topics, in that they ask me a question and then I have to formulate my response and give it back. Interviewee needs to have good questions as well. So I was able to draw upon, partly from my experience as being an evaluator in Toastmasters, by being able to ask good questions, relevant questions to the role, and ask it in such a way that it showed that I was interested in the role. Yeah.
So what's your next move with Toastmasters? You're heading down to Adelaide. Is Toastmasters still on your horizon?
I definitely still want to continue the Toastmasters journey. It's done so much for me so far. It's done a lot to help me advance my career, overcome issues of social isolation. So why walk away from such a good thing?
What are the most valuable experiences that you had in that time?
Being club president of Bunya Club, a very good experience for me. So I was able to get a lot of experience with things like forward planning, working with others, being an area director and putting on the conference. That was something I had never done before, so I was able to get experiences there. Table topics can be a lot of fun as well.
Oh.
To add on quickly, about 2 years ago, I went to a conference in Christchurch, New Zealand. I was the second speaker to get up and present their paper. And I spoke for between 10 to 15 minutes. Now, I was actually the shortest speaker of all the people. I spoke for the shortest period of time, but I was probably one of the most succinct and straight to the point. So that right there was a really good example of how Toastmasters had allowed me to hone my message, be on time, and to the point. Because it was interesting, because they told us we only have 15 minutes, but so many people were speaking for like 45 minutes, and I was wondering, at what point is somebody going to get up and give them a red light and say they can't keep going? But it worked out really well, and so for me, that was a real example of my putting Toastmasters and that experience, taking it out into a career-related event and being able to do it in a good way and get good feedback, because
Yeah.
I got lots of questions, whereas other people didn't get many questions, and I think it was because they just went on for so long.
And so they were
Yeah.
engaged with your speech.
That's right.
And they're the skills that Toastmasters give you to speak with the audience in mind.
That's
You've got
right.
to be able to connect with the audience.
That's right.
Well, look, thanks very much, Miles. I wish you all the best for your future down in Adelaide, and I
Yeah.
hope you find a really good club down there. Bunya's going to be hard to beat, isn't it?
Yes, yeah, Bunya will be hard to beat.